Commander Zork of the Galactic Survey Fleet stared at the blue planet through the view screen, his 4 eyes blinking in sequence as he processed the data scrolling across his neural implant. So this is Earth? The infamous Zone 3 outpost that's been causing such a stir at headquarters? Lieutenant Plex nodded, her translucent skin rippling with excitement. Yes, Commander. Our preliminary surveys indicate a Class C civilization. Primitive technology. No interstellar travel capabilities. No unified planetary government. Approximately 8 billion inhabitants who call themselves humans. Harmless, then? Zork asked, scratching one of his tentacles against his command chair. Completely harmless, Plex confirmed, confidence radiating from her pores in a pleasant lavender scent. They spend most of their time looking at small glowing rectangles and arguing about pictures of food and small furry animals. Our behavioral analysts suggest they will be easily controlled. Zork nodded, his crest rising with satisfaction. Excellent. The Galactic Council will be pleased. This sector has strategic importance for our expansion plans. Prepare the advanced team for first contact protocols. Remember, we want to appear benevolent. Let's not repeat the Zygon 5 fiasco. Of course, Commander, Plex replied with a slight bow. I have selected our most diplomatic team members. We will land in a rural area to avoid mass panic. Our algorithms have identified a location called Nebraska as ideal. Sparse population, minimal security forces. Commander Zork let out a satisfied burble. Very well. Proceed with the mission. I expect your first report in 12 Earth hours. Little did they know that their perfect landing site was the farm of 78-year-old Beatrice Johnson, known throughout 3 counties as Granny Bea, the most formidable human they would ever encounter. The sleek alien craft descended silently through Earth's atmosphere, its cloaking technology rendering it invisible to human detection systems. Lieutenant Plex reviewed the mission parameters one final time with her team. Remember, she instructed the 5 specialists arranged in the transport bay. Humans are fragile, both physically and psychologically. Our goal is to establish peaceful first contact with minimal trauma. We will start with 1 specimen, assess their reaction, then gradually expand our interaction sphere. Dr. Glorp, the xenobiologist, raised a gelatinous appendage. The atmospheric composition is compatible with our physiology, but I recommend limited exposure initially. Their star emits radiation at frequencies that may cause discomfort to our photosensitive membranes. Noted, Plex acknowledged. Everyone activate your translation modules and personal shields. Remember, we represent the glory of the Galactic Alliance. The team vibrated in unison, their species equivalent of an enthusiastic cheer. As the craft touched down in a flat field behind a modest dwelling structure, Plex felt the first stirrings of doubt. Something about this planet felt unpredictable. She quickly suppressed the feeling. After all, she had studied hundreds of Earth broadcasts from something called reality television to news programs. Humans were clearly self-destructive, disorganized, and easily manipulated. This would be simple. The hatch opened with a soft hiss, revealing the golden fields of Nebraska stretching to the horizon under the late afternoon sun. Sensors detect a single human life form in the primary structure, reported Security Officer Krill, his weapon's tentacle hovering nervously over his stun emitter. Excellent, Plex said. Let's proceed with first contact. Remember protocol. Speak simply, move slowly, and maintain non-threatening postures. The team glided from the craft, their hover discs allowing them to move silently across the field toward the human dwelling. As they approached, they noted primitive agricultural equipment, strange colorful fabrics hanging on an exterior line, and small decorative arrangements of vegetation. This human appears to practice some form of plant worship, whispered cultural specialist Morb, recording everything with his ocular implants. They had nearly reached the rear entrance of the dwelling when the door swung open with surprising force, causing the entire team to freeze in place. Standing in the doorway was a small human female with white hair arranged in a neat bun. She wore a floral patterned dress, covered by what appeared to be a protective outer layer with large pockets. Most shocking of all, she held a long metal tube pointed directly at them. I don't know what kind of nonsense this is, the human said in a surprisingly strong voice, but you are trespassing on private property. If you're selling something, I'm not interested. If you're from the government, I have told you people 100 times about those property taxes. The aliens remained frozen, their translation modules struggling to process the human's rapid speech pattern. Plex recovered first, extending her upper appendages in what her research indicated was a human greeting gesture. We come in peace, Earth denizen. We represent the Galactic Alliance and wish to establish beneficial relations with your species. The human narrowed her eyes, adjusting her grip on the metal tube. You're either from Hollywood or Area 51, and I don't have patience for either. My souffle is about to collapse, and I have got bridge club in an hour. Lieutenant Plex turned to Dr. Glorp in confusion. The human does not appear to comprehend our superior status. Perhaps its cognitive functions are impaired. Before Glorp could respond, the human female stepped forward, causing the entire team to drift backward involuntarily. Now see here, the human said, lowering her metal tube slightly. I don't care if you are from Mars or Missouri. This is private property. State your business or get off my land. Plex's confidence began to waver. This wasn't proceeding according to protocol at all. The human should be cowering in fear or at least showing appropriate awe. We have selected you for the honor of first contact, Plex explained, trying to sound authoritative despite her growing uncertainty. Your life will be enhanced through association with our advanced civilization. The human made a strange noise, a short, sharp exhalation that their cultural database identified as expressing disbelief or derision. Advanced, she looked pointedly at Morb, whose recording tentacle was currently entangled in one of the hanging fabric rectangles. Doesn't look that advanced to me. Now, I'm Beatrice Johnson, and you are standing in my vegetable garden. You have already crushed my prize-winning zucchini, so this better be good. Security Officer Krill leaned toward Plex. Lieutenant, recommend immediate withdrawal and selection of a more compliant specimen. His fear glands were secreting visible droplets of yellow anxiety fluid. Negative, Plex whispered back. The mission parameters require us to establish contact. We will proceed. She turned back to the human female. Beatrice Johnson, we have journeyed many light years to call me Granny Bea, the human interrupted. Everyone does. And you might as well come inside before Mrs. Hoffman next door sees you. She's the biggest gossip in 3 counties. She turned and walked back into the dwelling without checking if they followed. The alien team exchanged uncertain glances, their species equivalent of raised eyebrows. Is this a trap? Krill asked, his defensive spines beginning to emerge. Doctor. Glorp consulted his scanner. No detectable weapons beyond the primitive projectile device she's carrying. Though my cultural database suggests the device, a shotgun, I believe, is considered quite effective at close range. Plex made a decision. We follow. This is an unexpected opportunity to observe a human in its natural habitat. As they hovered through the doorway, none of them realized they had just encountered the most formidable force in the galaxy. A grandmother who had raised 6 children, managed a farm through 3 economic downturns, and hadn't been genuinely surprised by anything since the moon landing. The inside of Granny Bea's home was a sensory overload for the alien's sensitive perception organs. Bright colors, multiple textures, and most overwhelming of all, a barrage of unfamiliar but not unpleasant aromas. Sit anywhere that fits your particular anatomies, Granny Bea said, placing her shotgun against the wall but still within easy reach. I just took an apple pie out of the oven, and I'm not one to be stingy with hospitality, even of folks who trample my garden. The aliens cautiously arranged themselves around a central gathering space filled with soft furniture. Their hover discs whirred quietly as they adjusted to optimal observation height. So, Granny Bea said, returning with a steaming circular object that threatened to overload their olfactory sensors with pleasure, you are aliens. Real ones, I'm guessing, not like that fellow from the History Channel who stopped by trying to convince me my barn was built by ancient astronauts. Lieutenant Plex tried to regain control of the situation. Yes, we are representatives of the Galactic Alliance, a confederation of 37 advanced species dedicated to cosmic harmony and proper resource management. Resource management, huh? Granny Bea raised a single eyebrow while cutting the pie into precise triangular sections. That's what the railroad said before they tried to buy up half the county in '87. Dr. Glorp, unable to contain his scientific curiosity, extended a sampling tendril toward the pie. Granny Bea promptly tapped it with her serving utensil. "Manners," she admonished. "Wait until everyone's served." The tendril retreated as quickly as if it had touched a live electrical wire. Glorp emitted a series of apologetic clicks. "Now then," Granny Bea continued, distributing plates to each alien with remarkable aplomb, as if serving extraterrestrial visitors was a regular Tuesday occurrence. "What exactly does your Galactic Alliance want with Earth? And specifically with my farm?" Plex, momentarily distracted by the plate of pie placed before her, struggled to maintain her diplomatic composure. "We seek to incorporate promising planets into our alliance. Earth has been classified as ready for preliminary contact and eventual integration." Integration? Granny Bea's eyes narrowed dangerously. Like what happened to the Native Americans when the Europeans showed up with their advanced civilization, cultural specialist Morb perked up. "You are familiar with your planet's colonization history. Excellent. Then you understand the process. Though I should clarify that we offer a much more humane assimilation than your historical examples." The temperature in the room seemed to drop several degrees as Granny Bea set down her pie server with deliberate care. "Let me get this straight," she said, her voice deceptively calm. "You folks have traveled across the galaxy to integrate Earth into your alliance? And you thought the best way to start was by landing in my backyard and crushing my prized zucchini." Security Officer Krill, misreading the human's calm demeanor as acceptance, decided to accelerate negotiations. "Your understanding is correct. The process will be painless. Your species will benefit from our technology, medical advances, and societal structure. Some minor adjustments to your population distribution and resource allocation will be necessary, of course." "Of course," Granny Bea echoed, picking up her teacup and taking a measured sip. "And who exactly decided Earth needs this integration?" Lieutenant Plex was beginning to sense danger in the human's questions, but pressed forward. "The Galactic Council assessed Earth's development and determined you had reached the appropriate stage for contact. Your species spends much of its resources on conflict and has damaged your planetary ecology. We can help correct these inefficiencies." "I see." Granny Bea set down her cup with a finality that made even the relaxed atmosphere specialist Zib straighten his posture. "And did anyone think to ask if we wanted this help?" Plex blinked in confusion, all four eyes cycling through their protective membranes. That's not how the process works. Advanced civilizations guide developing ones. It's for your benefit." Granny Bea stood up, smoothing her apron. "You know, that reminds me of something my late husband used to say. Bea, he'd say, the road to hell is paved with other people's ideas about what's good for you." She walked to an ancient communication device on the wall and lifted a portion of it to her face. "Martha? It's Bea. Yes, I know Bridge Club's not for another hour. Listen, remember how your boy Tommy works for that scientific research place? NASA? Good. I need you to get him on the phone right now. Tell him to bring whoever's in charge of alien invasions. And Martha? Tell him to hurry." Lieutenant Plex rose in alarm. "This is not the protocol. First contact is meant to be controlled, limited to a single specimen." Granny Bea replaced the communication device and turned to face them, arms crossed. "Well, I hate to break it to you, but you picked the wrong specimen. I have been dealing with people trying to tell me what's good for me for 78 years. Started with my father, continued with the bank, the government, and now apparently includes outer space." She pointed to the untouched pie before them. "Now eat your pie before it gets cold. It would be a shame to waste good Braeburn apples, even during an invasion." The aliens, thoroughly confused by this turn of events, cautiously sampled the pie. The effect was immediate and catastrophic to their mission objectives. Dr. Glorp's entire body changed color to match the golden brown of the pie crust. This is beyond our sensory pleasure scales. What is this substance?" "Just a simple apple pie," Granny Bea said with a knowing smile. "Family recipe. 5 generations of blue ribbons at the county fair." Cultural specialist Morb was frantically updating his records. "The humans possess culinary technology that surpasses our pleasure index algorithms. This must be reported immediately." Lieutenant Plex was losing control of both the situation and her team. "Focus on the mission. We are representatives of the Galactic Alliance." Granny Bea sat back down, the picture of composure. "You know what I think? I think you folks might have bitten off more than you can chew with Earth. We are a stubborn bunch. Been through world wars, pandemics, climate disasters, and reality television, and we are still kicking." She leaned forward, fixing Plex with a stare that made the lieutenant's exoskeleton feel suddenly too tight. "And if you think I'm tough, wait until you meet the rest of the Bridge Club." Commander Zork was becoming concerned. The initial 12-hour check-in period had passed with no communication from the advance team. Now, approaching the 24-hour mark, he had decided to take decisive action. "Prepare my personal shuttle," he ordered his bridge crew. "I will investigate personally." His second-in-command, Major Blurp, raised objections. "Commander, protocol dictates sending a secondary assessment team first. Protocol also dictates that Lieutenant Plex should have reported by now," Zork countered, his irritation causing his dorsal spines to flush a deep purple. "Something has gone wrong, and I intend to find out what." As the shuttle descended toward the same coordinates where Plex's team had landed, Zork reviewed all available data on human defense capabilities. Nothing suggested they should be able to neutralize a Galactic Alliance contact team. The rural landscape came into view, but what Zork saw sent a shock wave through his nervous system. Instead of the quiet, isolated farm that had been selected, he now observed multiple human transport vehicles surrounding the dwelling. More alarming were the large black vehicles with rotating light emitters and human security forces establishing a perimeter. "Impossible," Zork muttered. "Their detection technology shouldn't be capable of identifying our presence." He engaged his shuttle's enhanced cloaking system and landed a safe distance from the growing human gathering. Using his personal stealth field, he approached the farm dwelling to assess the situation. As he drew near, he detected his missing team's biosignatures inside the structure. They appeared to be clustered around a central point, apparently unharmed, but making no attempt to leave. Most puzzling of all, their physiological readings indicated they were experiencing extreme pleasure responses rather than distress. Commander Zork slipped past the human security perimeter with ease. Their detection technology was indeed as primitive as their reports had indicated. He approached a window and peered inside, his four eyes widening in shock at the scene before him. His elite advance team sat in a circle with four elderly human females. They appear to be engaged in some form of ritualistic card exchange while consuming various colorful substances. Lieutenant Plex was actually wearing a head covering matching those of the human females, and Security Officer Krill's weapon's tentacle was being used to hold a small container of a brown liquid. Most disturbing of all, they were communicating vocally with the humans, not in formal diplomatic protocols, but in what appeared to be casual conversation filled with periodic eruptions of vocalizations his translator identified as laughter. Zork activated his long-range communication device. "Major Blurp, the situation is more complex than anticipated. The humans have somehow compromised our advance team. Capture them, Commander." Blurp's concerned voice came through clearly. "No, not exactly," Zork replied, still struggling to process what he was seeing. Dr. Glorp was now showing one of the elderly humans his specimen collection techniques, using small, colorful objects to demonstrate. They appear to be voluntarily participating in some form of social ritual. "Stand by." Zork needed to get closer. He identified an entry point and slipped inside the dwelling, his cloaking field making him invisible to both humans and scanning technology. As he entered the central gathering space, the conversation became clear. "So you're telling me," said the human female his database identified as the primary contact, "that in your entire Galactic Alliance, you don't have anything like bridge clubs or community bake sales?" Lieutenant Plex, looking uncharacteristically relaxed, replied, "Our social structures are efficiency-based. Recreational activities are individually assigned based on productivity metrics and genetic predispositions." The human female, Granny Bea, they called her, made the derision noise again. "Well, that sounds about as fun as watching paint dry. No wonder you're all so interested in my pie recipe." Another elderly human female with bright red cranial covering spoke up. "Speaking of which, Bea, you simply must share your crust technique with our new friends. I've been trying for years to get that flaky texture." Cultural specialist Morb was recording everything frantically. This informal knowledge exchange system is fascinating. No centralized database. Yet information persists across generations, with regional variations encouraging innovation. Zork had seen enough. This was a disaster of unprecedented proportions. He retreated outside to continue his communication with the ship. Major Blurp, prepare a full report to Galactic Headquarters. Subject, possible cultural contamination event. The advanced team appears to have been seduced by human social practices. Seduced, Commander? By primitive humans. Blurp couldn't keep the disbelief from his voice. They have weapons we didn't anticipate, Zork replied grimly. Something called hospitality and home cooking. Most disturbing of all, they organize into social units called bridge clubs that appear to wield considerable local influence. Before Blurp could respond, Zork felt a tap on his shoulder, which should have been impossible given his active cloaking field. He turned to find himself face-to-face with Granny Bea. You know, she said conversationally, it's considered rude to eavesdrop where I come from. Why don't you come inside and join us properly? Your friends have been telling us all about your Galactic Alliance. Zork's cloaking field flickered and failed as his shock disrupted his concentration. Ow, how did you detect me? Your species doesn't possess this sensory capability. Granny Bea's eyes twinkled with amusement. Honey, I raised 6 children. I've got eyes in the back of my head. Now, come along, the NASA folks have some questions, and I have got a fresh batch of Snickerdoodles coming out of the oven. Zork found himself following her inside, his commander's authority somehow neutralized by this diminutive human female. The scene that greeted him was even more alarming up close. His advanced team was now integrated into what appeared to be multiple conversation groups. Lieutenant Plex was showing one of the human officials how their translation technology worked, while Dr. Glorp was engaged in an animated discussion with a human in a white laboratory coat. Everyone, Granny Bea announced, this is their boss, I reckon. What did you say your name was, dear? Commander Zork of the Galactic Survey Fleet. He replied automatically, still trying to process how completely his mission had collapsed. A human male in a dark uniform approached him. Commander, I'm General Williams, United States Space Command. We'd like to discuss the nature of your visit to Earth. Zork drew himself up to his full height. This planet has been designated for integration into the Galactic Alliance. Our process is non-negotiable and has been successfully implemented on 37 developing worlds. Granny Bea patted his arm sympathetically. That's what Lieutenant Plex said when she first arrived. 2 slices of apple pie later, she was showing U.S. pictures of her spawn cluster and telling us how the Galactic Council doesn't give adequate parental leave. The Galactic Alliance operates on principles of efficiency and logical progression, Zork insisted, though he found his resolve weakening as a new aroma began permeating the room. Efficiency isn't everything, Granny Bea said, disappearing briefly and returning with a tray of golden brown discs that made his olfactory sensors go into overdrive. Sometimes you need to slow down and appreciate what's already working before you try to fix it. One of the NASA scientists stepped forward. Commander Zork, your team has graciously shared information about your propulsion systems. We'd like to propose a cultural exchange program instead of this integration you mentioned. Absolutely not, Zork exclaimed. Galactic protocols are clear. Emerging civilizations must be guided through the integration process. Granny Bea held out the tray toward him. Try a Snickerdoodle before you make any rash decisions. My husband always said never to negotiate on an empty stomach. Against all his training and better judgment, Zork accepted one of the offered items. The moment it made contact with his taste receptors, a cascade of pleasurable sensations overwhelmed his neural network. This is... Words failed him as his perception of reality shifted. Just cinnamon and sugar, Granny Bea said with a modest shrug. Though the secret is using real butter, not that margarine nonsense. Zork looked around the room with new awareness. His team wasn't compromised. They were experiencing a form of cultural exchange that had never been documented in Galactic Alliance records. Humans didn't need to be guided through integration. They had developed something the Alliance had lost generations ago in its pursuit of efficiency, community. Perhaps, he said slowly, another Snickerdoodle already in his grasp. Our standard protocols could be reconsidered in this instance. 6 months later, the Galactic Council chamber was in an uproar. Representatives from all 37 member worlds were demanding explanations as Commander Zork presented his final report on the Earth mission. You mean to tell us, The Supreme Counselor thundered that not only did you fail to begin the integration process, but you have recommended Earth be classified as a protected cultural reserve. Zork stood firm, though he had faced multiple disciplinary reviews since returning from Earth. I do, Supreme Counselor. Earth represents a unique developmental path we have not encountered before. Their social cohesion mechanisms, while appearing chaotic and inefficient, create resilience and innovation our models failed to predict. This is unprecedented, another counselor objected. What exactly possessed you to abandon centuries of established protocol? Zork hesitated, knowing his next words might end his career. Counselors, Earth has developed something our civilization gradually lost as we advanced. Meaningful social connections independent of productivity metrics. They call it community, and it manifests in numerous forms, from small rural bridge clubs to global networks. The chamber erupted again until the Supreme Counselor raised all 6 appendages for silence. And you believe this community concept merits protecting their independent development? Based on what evidence? Zork activated a holographic display. With permission, I have brought witnesses. The chamber doors opened, and Lieutenant Plex entered, accompanied by a small human female using a mobility assistance device. Counselors, I present Beatrice Johnson of Earth, known as Granny Bea, who has agreed to address this assembly. The Supreme Counselor's color pattern expressed shock. You brought a human to the council chamber? This violates at least 17 security protocols. Granny Bea looked around the vast chamber unimpressed. My goodness, it's drafty in here. Don't you folks believe in central heating? Before the counselor could respond, Granny Bea approached the central platform, her walking cane tapping a determined rhythm. Now, I'm not one for long speeches, so I will keep this simple. Your Commander Zork here tells me you are upset because Earth doesn't fit your usual plans. Well, I have been hearing them my whole life. Banks in my farm was too small to be profitable. Government said family farms were obsolete. But here I am, still going strong. She reached into a large bag she carried and began placing containers on the council table. I brought something called potluck from Earth. It's what we do when communities gather. Everyone brings a dish to share. The counselors stared in confusion as containers were opened, releasing aromas that had never before permeated the sterile chamber. Try the fried chicken, Granny Bea encouraged. And there's peach cobbler for dessert. The Supreme Counselor looked to Zork in bewilderment. What is happening, Commander? Zork smiled, a gesture he had learned on Earth. Cultural exchange, Supreme Counselor. The basis for a new type of galactic relationship. As the first brave counselor sampled the offered food, their color pattern shifted to express intense pleasure. One by one, others followed. The point I'm making, Granny Bea continued, is that sometimes the best way to understand each other isn't through rules and protocols. Sometimes you just need to break bread together. She turned to Zork with a wink. Or in your case, whatever it is you folks do with those tentacles. Within an hour, the most powerful governing body in the galaxy was engaged in something they had never experienced before, an informal social gathering with no agenda beyond connection. Granny Bea found herself beside the Supreme Counselor, who was on his 3rd helping of peach cobbler. You know, he said, his formal tone considerably relaxed. In 900 cycles, no one has ever suggested we simply talk to emerging civilizations as equals. Well, Granny Bea replied, patting his nearest appendage, sometimes it takes an outsider to state the obvious. My Ralph used to say I had a gift for cutting through nonsense. This community concept, the counselor mused, our efficiency models never accounted for its benefits. That's because the best things in life can't be measured on charts, Granny Bea said. Now, I've been thinking about this galactic alliance of yours. Seems to me you could use a little less alliance and a bit more galactic community. The Supreme Counselor's color pattern shifted to thoughtful blue. A galactic community. I find this concept unexpectedly appealing. As the impromptu gathering continued, Commander Zork found himself standing beside Lieutenant Plex, watching as the foundation of interstellar relations transformed before their eyes. You realize, Plex said quietly, that the integration protocols will never be the same after this. Zork nodded. Who would have thought that our most significant galactic discovery would be made in a kitchen in Nebraska? Across the chamber, Granny Bea was now teaching a group of counselors how to play bridge. their confusion giving way to delight as they grasp the concept of a game with no productive purpose beyond enjoyment. "I believe," Zork said with newfound wisdom, "that the universe is full of surprises. And perhaps the most surprising discovery is that even an advanced civilization can learn something from human grandmother." Plex's color pattern shifted to agreement. "The humans have a saying, 'Don't judge a book by its cover.'" "Indeed," Zork replied, watching as Granny Bea corrected the Supreme Counselor's card-holding technique. "Though in this case, perhaps it should be, never underestimate a species until you have met their grandmothers."